The year was 1995. Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated at the end of a peace rally supporting the Oslo Accords by a Jewish extremist. A journalist named Michel Drosnin claimed he had warned Rabin about his assassination a year before it happened, after uncovering a hidden prophecy in the Bible that predicted his death. Did the Bible really predict the assassination? What's really at play? Let's take a closer look in today's episode. It all started with a scientific paper. The year was 1994. Israeli mathematician Eliyahu Rips, who, along with his colleagues, published a paper in a peer-reviewed journal called Statistical Science. They presented statistical evidence that information about the life of famous rabbis was encoded in the Hebrew text of the book of Genesis, hundreds of years before those rabbis lived. Rips and his colleagues used a method called equidistance letter sequence, the ELS method. More on that later. The editors of the journal framed the paper as a challenging puzzle rather than proof of divine prophecy. Nevertheless, a great many people took it as the latter, and one of those people was Michel Drosnin. He popularized the idea of Bible code in his book with the same name. He used the ELS method to claim numerous instances of the Bible predicting future events in concealed code, one of them being the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin. So what exactly is the ELS method? In simple terms, it's a method used to find hidden messages in a text by skipping letters at fixed intervals. All the spaces and punctuations are removed, leaving only the raw letters. The idea is that by skipping letters in a systematic way, you might uncover hidden messages that are not immediately obvious in the text. However, if you search long enough, you can find prophecies in almost any large text. Drosnin's claims about the Bible codes and predictions sparked debate and skepticism. He issued an open challenge to find hidden codes in Moby Dick to prove the validity and uniqueness of the Bible code. The challenge was taken up by Brendan Mackay, an Australian mathematician. He applied the same ELS method and found historical assassinations. Abraham Lincoln, Robert Kennedy, JFK, even Rabin, and many other prophecies, all hidden in the text of a 19th century fictional story. Brendan Mackay also published a rebuttal to Riff's original 1994 paper. He and his co-authors found that the choice of names and spellings was not objective. They were selected in a way that maximized the likelihood of finding patterns. When alternate spellings were used, the statistical significance disappeared. They also showed that the statistical significance in Riff's paper was entirely dependent on how the experiment was designed. By tweaking parameters such as which names were included and how distances between letters were measured, researchers could manufacture seemingly impressive results. Riff's experiment was repeated for different texts such as War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, and they found similar patterns, proving that the Bible code was not unique. What these works truly reveal is that they are a statistical trick and show the power of probability. The Bible contains over 300,000 Hebrew letters, so using the ELS method one can find millions of letter combinations that seem to form meaningful phrases. Thus, it is a near statistical certainty that one will find concealed codes in any large text if one looks hard enough for them. The bottom line is, you tend to ignore random chance when the results seem meaningful, or when you want a random event to have a meaningful cause. This brings us to one of the most common logical fallacies, the texassharpshooter fallacy. It is an informal fallacy which occurs when someone notices clusters or patterns of probable coincidences and gives it meaning while ignoring the differences to fit their theory or pre-existing beliefs. This fallacy is often used to mislead other people, or it can be seen when people want to believe in something that isn't backed by evidence, so they find patterns to confirm that belief. We'll see a few examples in a moment, but first, a little background. The name for this fallacy comes from a parable in which a marksman, shooting at the side of a barn from a distance of many yards, creates a random pattern of bullet holes. However, if the shooter then paints a bullseye around the cluster of bullet holes that are closest together, it will falsely appear that their aim was accurate, or that they are a sharpshooter. This fallacy doesn't always work alone. is often reinforced by other cognitive biases like clustering illusion, cherry picking, and confirmation bias. And together they make misleading patterns even more convincing. Each bias can exist independently, but they often work together, strengthening each other and creating a powerful illusion. Whether it's one person reinforcing their own mistaken belief or a group amplifying each other's biases. This fuels conspiracies, pseudoscience, and belief systems that ignore inconvenient facts, locking people into echo chambers that are hard to escape. Consider a juice company highlighting that their product contains antioxidants and cites studies that show antioxidants can reduce the risk of cancer. Therefore, drinking their juice is beneficial. They build their entire marketing around this claim. But what they don't show is how they ignored countless other studies that say otherwise. They cherry-picked the ones favorable and ignored others, painting a false picture to sell their product. In Drosnin's case, he spotlighted one seemingly successful prediction while ignoring all the failed ones. He dismissed counterexamples like Moby Dick, which used the same ELS method and which passed his own challenge. It can be as simple as someone believing their lucky pen helps them ace their exams, to someone believing that their pink shirt always helps them crack interviews, to seeing faces in random things, which is called pareidolia by the way, and thinking it has to mean something, to as dangerous as someone believing smoking is not harmful because their grandma has been smoking for her entire life and is still healthy. You can see how these biases work together and how they can lock people into echo chambers of fixed-minded belief systems. These biases can alter the way you think and impair your judgment, affecting important life decisions and the people around you. We could go on and on with examples, but the point is, everyone falls for these biases in one way or another, often without realizing it. Which begs the question, why do we do it? Why do we cling to beliefs even when confronted with contradictory evidence? Why do we give meaning to random events? Well, in the context of this fallacy, the reason may lie in how humans handle uncertainty and disorder. To admit that chaos, disorder, and random chance rules our lives, and perhaps the universe itself, is painful and terrifying. We commit the texassharpshooter fallacy when we carve meaning into randomness, when we need a pattern to mean something. We do it to soothe ourselves, to assign purpose, to lay blame, to feel in control, because we crave order and certainty. It's not necessarily a flaw. Pattern recognition kept our ancestors alive, led them to food, warned them of predators, gave them answers to mysteries they couldn't explain. When the rain fell, they didn't see weather, they saw intention, maybe a force greater than themselves. For them, the unknown was vast, and they filled it with gods. Maybe not out of ignorance, but from the same impulse that helped them survive, to make sense, to assign cause, to feel less small beneath the sky they couldn't control. We inherited the same brain, still wired for survival, still scanning for meaning, desperate to connect dots that were never meant to align. But in that pursuit of meaning, we often overlook the unstructured, the senseless, the randomness in this universe. Meaning is a human construction, and sometimes it's misplaced. By painting a bullseye over the bullet holes, the cowboy places artificial order over natural random chance. When we search for prophecies or patterns in revert texts, we do much the same, longing for certainty, for signs that our futures are pre-written. We let random patterns whisper comfort, even if the logic collapses under scrutiny, because it's easy to just believe in comforting patterns of coincidences than to confront reality as it is. And so we wrap ourselves in constructed meaning because sometimes it feels like a kind of grace, like the only hope in this nihilistic universe. As I said before, everyone falls for these biases. Picking out clusters of coincidences is a predictable malfunction of normal human logic. Everyone is biased, and it's okay. But recognizing and avoiding this is important. There are patterns everywhere, but some might be pure chance and mean nothing. Looking at the factors from a distance, you can accept the painful reality of random chance. One reason scientists begin with a hypothesis and then try to disprove it is to avoid the texassharpshooter fallacy. Against the noisy background of probability, things are bound to line up from time to time for no reason at all. Recognizing this is an important part of ignoring coincidences when they don't matter and realizing what has a real meaning for you on this tiny planet. The question isn't whether you see patterns, it's which ones you let shape you. What patterns have you drawn around your own life? That is something for you to ponder. Comment your thoughts down below and share this video if you liked it. And I'll see you in the next one. Stay curious.